This week I tested the viral super cubes, the Lego style meals that everyone's been talking about, and I made over 30 plus meals for my family that have multiple food allergies. So over the past 4 days this week, I spent 3 days cooking, making cottage pie, creamy beef and shells, fried rice and sesame chicken, Korean beef, all kinds of different meals. On the 4th day, I actually tested it out with my grandmother. So she's 91 years old and she does not hold back. Like when I tell you this woman is honest with no filter, she is honest with no filter. So she told me exactly what she thought of my vegan Copycat Panera broccoli cheddar soup. And you'll want to hear that and see how that goes, because that is quite comical in my opinion. And though I love the challenge of cooking and making meals that my family loves, because I have all boys here, so it's like ravenous teenagers at all times eating me out of house and home, I do not always have the time to make the food. So sometimes we have sports going on or I'm just not feeling well that day. And so it's really nice to be able to have options and to keep it in the freezer and it be actually good food that I know that my family likes and eats. We have very few options with our food allergies. My kids have multiple food allergies, including dairy and gluten. And so we always leave that out. And so I'm always trying to make sure that my recipes are safe for them and not having to pay for the few expensive options that are in the store that they could have as a backup meal. And also tends to be ones that they don't really like. So let's start with what I did on day 1. So the first thing I wanted to do was do the cottage pie and the beef and shells, because I had all this ground beef that I was able to get on discount at the store and it needed to be cooked like the day before. Before beginning the beef meals, I made sure to prep all of my vegetables. Now, my mind, when it comes to all these recipes, gets really cluttered, like almost really disorganized, and I don't really know how to organize it. And so what I did actually was use AI. I inputted all my recipes into AI, and I asked it to tell me what my prep steps would be, particularly when it came to chopping the vegetables and getting everything ready and the chicken. And so it gave me a whole list of step-by-step what to do and where to put it for each bags for the different days that I was going to be working on the meals that I had planned. Now, this was just okay. It helped me with a starting point, but it was wrong in some areas. So it would have me cut like 2 onions for a dish that wasn't calling for 2 onions. And one that was calling for 2 onions, it only gave me 1 onion. So it was not perfect in any way. And it was a little bit frustrating that it wasn't. After I chopped all my veggies and I got my chicken ready, I did the chicken actually later at night, but I did all my veggies, I got all the prep done that I could. That really helped me to be ready to start the meals and just be able to go. So I started with the cottage pie first. And the reason I did this is because the process of this cottage pie was just a little bit longer than the creamy beef and shells. I knew that the creamy beef and shells was kind of a quick recipe. And so I was able to kind of like knock that out a lot quicker later on in the day when I was a little bit more tired after doing the cottage pie and all the prepping that I had to do. Now, one thing I noticed about the cottage pie is I made a lot of extra mashed potatoes so that I could do some cubes that had just mashed potatoes in it. And I'm glad that I did that, but I wish that I hadn't put the cottage pie into the oven to cook and then freeze it. I think next time I would just kind of assemble it, so have all the parts that are assembled, and then I would maybe bake it in the oven to reheat it when it came time. After I was done the cottage pie, I then went on to the creamy beef and shells. I whipped that up pretty quickly. That didn't take long. And then you want to make sure that you let everything cool completely, or you might risk getting freezer burn because you have the condensation from the heat of the food in your super cube, and then you're putting it in the freezer. That's not really a great combination, so make sure that it cools completely before you put it in the freezer. Then I froze it overnight, and by the next morning I took them out and started putting them in bags and kind of preparing them to put them into the freezer. Now this is where I came across my first problem with the super cubes. My first and only problem, if I'm being quite honest. When I was done with the silicone, I know from my experience with silicone, which has not been great, is that it can take on the taste of soap. And I did not want that. So I looked up as many different ways that I could kind of avoid that. And what I did was use a fragrance-free, oil-free soap to clean my silicone with a sponge that has not been used before with any Dawn or any other kind of soap. And I used that strictly on my super cubes, and I do not plan on putting them in the dishwasher. Yes, they're dishwasher safe, but in my experience, that is usually when those tastes get imparted into the silicone, and then you are dealing with the taste in your food, which ruins all that time that you put in. So I didn't want to do that. But the problem is that the smell of the foods, of some of the foods, not all of them, but of some of the foods was still there. Like I had done, oh, that's another thing. On the first night, I did the Korean beef because I had extra ground beef. So I made a Korean beef and I put those in some of the super cubes, and that smell that had like the sesame, which I guess it's not, I didn't use soy sauce, I used cocoa aminos. So the sesame and the cocoa aminos, just the really strong flavors, those Asian flavors, really made my silicone stink. And so did the creamy beef and shells. And so I needed to get that out. So what I did was I took the super cubes and I tried doing vinegar, like part vinegar, part water, and soaked it in there for about 10 minutes to see if that would get rid of the smell. Then I tried baking soda in another one where I kind of like sprinkled some baking soda over top of it, and I tried that with like kind of a little bit of warm water there and leaving it for a bit and then trying to scrub that out. And then lastly, I did just soapy water and letting that sit there for about 10 minutes. And the truth was, none of them worked. And so I was really frustrated at that point, the fact that none of those things were working and my silicone stunk, and I just spent all this money on this silicone to be really disappointed. But I figured out how to fix it. So I went to their website to see what they might have to say in how to get rid of the smells in the silicone. And what I found is that if you put it in the oven at 300 degrees and you do it for 30 minutes, smell it. If it still has a smell, put it in for another 10 minutes. It should take it out. So I decided to try it. I tried it at 30 minutes. While most of the smells were gone, I still smelled it a little bit, especially in the Korean beef section and the creamy beef and shells. They were still kind of lingering there. So I put it in for another 10 minutes, but I still smelled it a little bit. So I decided an hour. We're just gonna go for an hour. So I put it in for the hour, and lo and behold, it got rid of probably 95 to 98% of the smell. So that was a win. And I'm gonna have to make that a part of my routine each time that I wash these and popping them in the oven. So I knew that after doing this, that this was gonna be a part of it. I was annoyed at it because this convenient thing is kind of not really convenient step to have to deal with the silicone smell and getting that out, but I don't want the smells of these other foods being imparted to the foods that I'm gonna be making. So day 2 is where I did my broccoli cheddar soup, and then I did my cheesy chicken and rice casserole, which again, gluten-free, dairy-free, and is so incredible. So I wanted to make sure that we got that done. And I'd already prepped the chicken the night before by making sure that all the chicken was cubed up and it was ready for the meals that I needed. I started by making the broccoli cheddar soup, and one tip I can give you, especially if you're cooking vegan or you are doing dairy-free, is to use canned coconut milk. This specific brand of Native Forest, I like the organic one, but the Native Forest, the full-fat coconut milk, is the one you really want to consider because it does not leave a coconutty taste in your foods, and it gives it a nice, really creamy texture. So I really like that when it comes to any kind of soups in particular, or even in my cheesy casserole. I also use that for part of the ingredients that it calls for, but that is a tip for you if you cook vegan or dairy-free. The soup was super easy. I'd already prepped the broccoli, so I was able to throw it in real quickly and get that done. And then next was the casserole. So the casserole is a little bit more of a process because I kind of make each component on its own. So I make sure that the rice is done. I already have the broccoli cut, so all I have to do is steam the broccoli, and then I get the rice, which is the fried rice. So the fried rice, I always do that in the Instant Pot. I do that at about 29 minutes, high pressure, and that's supposed to be a 1-to-1 ratio, but I do add a little bit more water to it because I feel like it's just better texture-wise, and then doing salt to the water as well. And so I kind of make all those components. I also need to make a cream of chicken soup because there is no safe cream of chicken soup. So I made a quick cream of chicken soup based off a recipe that I had, and it is so fast and easy, and it is amazing when it is added to foods. Once I was done, I popped them all into the super cubes, and then I froze it overnight again until I got to day 3, where I then took it out. I made sure to put it into my bags, and during this time, I'm also sucking the air out of the Ziploc bags, and I'll tell you what I would do differently next time in a few minutes, but that is what I did before I put it in the freezer, trying to even reduce that chance of freezer burn even a little bit more. Editing Tina here. I totally forgot to mention in the video what my favorite way to package up the food is. It's actually using food saver bags. It was a bit tedious because it took me a long time to package up 30 meals and all these individual components, and it took me like a whole 20-foot roll of the Food Saver bags. But I still prefer that because I'm not having to open all these Ziploc bags and then suck all the air out every single time. So that's a little bit annoying. But I am curious if you use Food Saver bags or if you use Ziploc bags. And if you do the Ziploc bags, do you take the air out every single time, or are you not having issues with freezer burn? Because if you're not having issues with freezer burn, then I think I would prefer to use Ziploc bags as it's a lot less work. So let me know in the comments if you have a suggestion. I really would love to know. So now on day 3, we are doing the sesame chicken and hibachi style fried rice, and I wanted to make a lot extra because I knew that this was one that we all really liked and also was going to be dinner that night. I started by making the rice. I already had the vegetables. I was kind of preparing everything that I needed and then getting the sesame chicken going. Now, because I made so much, I'm then feeding it to my family for dinner that night. So they're having a big portion of it, and then I'm having plenty to actually fill almost all my super cubes, or at least a good portion of my super cubes for that night. Now, my kids have egg allergies and they cannot have egg in certain forms. They can have it baked in a really high temperatures in like a bread or sometimes in a muffin if it's baked for a bit of a longer period of time, but they cannot have scrambled egg. And there is scrambled egg in the fried rice that my husband and I love. So what I do is I split the fried rice into 2 different bowls, and then I whip up a whole bunch of scrambled eggs and I add it to the one for my husband and I leave it out for my kids. So I make sure that when I am going to label my super cubes, that I make sure that it is labeled correctly so that there is no mistaking or no issue. Now, if you have a true egg allergy where you can't even handle it baked, or you have an issue even cleaning stuff off, you might not want to risk the cross contact with your super cubes with something like that, but I know the level of allergy that my kids have to eggs, so for me, it's not an issue with the super cubes. Now, if it were something like peanut butter, because they have a peanut allergy, I would never use that in super cubes, and I would never use gluten. So there are certain things, you have to know what your family can handle if you are dealing with food allergies. So then they went into the freezer to freeze overnight, and they were bagged up in the morning. That brings us to day 4, and this is the day that I go visit with my grandmother for a little bit. She's 91 years old. She is just a little firecracker. I always say she's 91 going on 17 because she's forever a teenager in her mind. She's just so young at heart. And I really mean that. You know how some like older people, they really are like an older person? She is not. She is like the furthest thing from it. She's almost like a rebellious teenager in some ways, but she's a no filter teenager, and not in like a filthy mouth kind of way. She just will just tell you what you think. So I brought her my vegan Copycat Panera broccoli cheddar soup to see what she would think. And she told me, so you can take a look at that here.
What did you, oh, you had a form. You had a form that you poured it in and froze it in?
Yeah.
Too? Okay.
Oh yeah, that's shouldn't. Good. Does it taste just like Panera?
No. No, but it's good.
Liar! So maybe I'm just too far removed from the real Panera soup. It's been a really long time since I've had it because I also have dairy sensitivities and gluten sensitivities, not allergies, but sensitivities. And so maybe I'm just too far removed that I don't remember what it tastes like, and she does. But it's really, really good, so I don't care. It's an amazing soup, and if you are dairy or gluten-free, you might want to consider looking into this Copycat Panera soup and making it dairy-free because it is really good. Now, I did the sesame chicken and fried rice when I was with her, and I have to say that both of the meals, the soup and the fried rice, reheated really well in the microwave. I put them in for about 2 minutes each to start, broke it up, and then put it in for another 2 minutes. The sesame chicken needed a little bit longer. It needed about another 30 seconds or so, and then that made it the perfect consistency.
It looks good. It looks really good. Just made a little piece just right now.
You just pop it in your soup? What if that has egg on it? Oh, Jesus. Now, The one fail with the sesame chicken is that that has a honey base. And if you know honey, it does not freeze in the freezer. And so that was a bit of a slushy mess. So in the future, I would not do sesame chicken to freeze in the freezer, or it has to be part of a meal in like one of the bigger super cubes where you have the rice on the bottom and the sesame chicken on top. So that is really good, but don't put it individually like I did in the half cup or the 1 cup measurements, because it will be mushy and slushy like, and you're not going to be happy because it's very hard to store it like that without getting it very, very messy. Let's talk about what worked and what didn't work. So what worked is I love that there is variety. I can have all these safe foods for my family. We have really good nourishing foods and everyone likes it and everyone can eat it, and it only takes a couple minutes to heat up. You can heat it up in the microwave, you can heat it up in the toaster oven, you can heat it up in the regular oven. So that is really great that it is versatile. The other really great point is that they taste really good reheated. They taste fresh, almost like you just made them. So that is a win for these. And if you're interested in portion control, they're really easy to control the portions of your food, and it is convenient. So the convenience of being able to use these on nights where I just don't feel good or we've got stuff going on is really invaluable. Now the cons to the super cubes. What we talked about before, the fact that it held on to smell. So now I have to do this extra step of having to bake my silicone. It's fine, it's not a big deal. I might be just being extra picky compared to other people, but that's gonna be part of my routine. So that I would call one of the didn't works or the cons of the silicone. The other thing is the pasta. The creamy beef and shells pretty much got pulverized. So even though the flavor is really good, those shells did not hold up really well. So in the future, if I were to do shells again, I would want to cook them a little more al dente, like maybe a few minutes cutting it out early to see how it goes, or I would add the shells later, or even consider putting the shells on top. I know that another YouTube creator, that's what she does. She does like the sauce on the bottom and then she puts like the pasta or the shells or whatever it is on top. And I'm guessing that maybe when you cook it, that the steam maybe from the sauce helps to finish the cooking process of the pasta. So that's an option. That's something I'm definitely gonna have to try out a little bit more. So are the super cubes worth it? I know they're a little bit on the pricier side, but 1000% yes. This is a 100% silicone, and one nice thing about this, because I'm gonna have to bake them to get rid of those smells, is the fact that because it's 100% silicone, it is not stinking up my kitchen from the smell of silicone baking in the oven. So I would highly, highly recommend trying these out if you are someone that likes to freezer prep, that you like the idea of having different safe meals, and also that Lego style. I didn't really touch on that too much, but you can have these different components and mix and match. And so if you don't want to get bored, you can make all these different things and mix and match it however you want. So there's a lot of benefit to that. I'd love to hear in the comments whether you have actually ever used the super cubes, or if you do any kind of freezer prep, and if you have any tips for me, because I'm still fairly new to a lot of the freezer prep. I used to do some with the crock pot years and years ago, but I kind of moved away from that because it seems like no one really likes the crock pot taste that just everything melds together in one big flavor. So I'd love to hear your tips. Please leave them in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, would love if you like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps the channel, helps me to get out some of these tips and these reviews for people that might be interested and are looking for more content like this. And if you've made it this far, you've earned your reward. This is sweet little Gertie Girl. Now, there is such a story behind this sweet girl. So sometimes she's sweet and sometimes she's so moody. My goodness, she used to be the top hen in all of our chickens and used to be so mean and almost like a bully to everybody. But she almost died like 2 years in a row. When she molts, she's practically on death's door. And one of the times we actually had to get surgery for her. Don't even get me started about surgery with the chicken and the costs and the drama that's associated with that. But we had to feed her around the clock for about 2 months straight. She had to get crop surgery. It was just a complete nightmare, but her life was saved and she ended up being okay. Now, actually, the crop surgery did not help her. But that's a whole story in itself. There was a total healing that God did on her that I just can't even begin to tell. That's probably a story for another day, but she has always been so special and close to our hearts. So I just want to share these sweet little clips of little Gertie, and so you can get a little sense of who she is and just more about our family. So until I see you in the next one, I hope you have a great day.